Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Real CFO, formerly the KB article. I am excited today to bring somebody on that I think is going to add value to all the entrepreneurs and business owners, and even the individuals that aren't in business from a money mindset standpoint. So I'm excited to have Mills Bender with Mills Knows Bills on the show today. Mills, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. A little frantic, moving around fast, so I need to slow down. And this is a good opportunity to do that and just slow down and connect with folks. And the reason I'm excited about having you on is because we are in the same industry, right? For the most part, but there's a lot of different levels and industries and niches and what maybe I refer to as CFO services or fractional CFO, and what you refer to it might be a little bit different. Um, it's different in the eyes of different industries that we both serve. So, but before we jump into all that accountant stuff that everybody's excited to hear about, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I ended up starting my entrepreneurial journey November of 2019. Perfect timing right before COVID hit. And I wanted to start this financial platform to really educate the masses on how to not just master their finances, but also master their money mindset, because as you know, that's really the foundation of all financial success. And so I began this platform educating everybody, lost my full-time job that I had at the time just a few months later, which was really an immense blessing that allowed me to jump into entrepreneurship full-time, scale this company, start becoming a fractional CFO for other businesses, and continue changing the scope of financial literacy and really changing the conversation around money and how it should not be taboo.
No, that's awesome. Sometimes our greatest setbacks are really what we need to push it forward. I forget, Ed Milet always says it's not, your setback is setting you up for the comeback or something to that effect. But it sounds like you were kind of forced into that position and kind of knocked it out since then, right?
Yes, thank you. It was I always say out of desperation comes innovation. And I was definitely desperate to find success at that point. So
Yeah.
it worked out.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about money mindset. Can you, because listeners to our show mostly are entrepreneurs in different industries than we are, of course, but there's some that are at home, they're entrepreneurs, so to speak, and make good wages, good money, but they also have money issue, challenges. Do you work with business owners mostly, or are you working with kind of everybody in that world of I need some money education?
So I focus my day-to-day efforts on the business owner specifically, but I do have a plethora of courses that I've created that's really meant for anyone ages, I'd say 12 is the youngest I've actually had go through the courses, to I've had people up through their 60s and 70s go through the courses. So it really is just dependent upon what somebody is looking for. But in terms of having the face-to-face time with me or somebody else on my team, that's really meant for the business owner.
Okay. No, that's awesome. So you have a series of courses is that something that people can go out there and find on a website, acquire that, share that with us right now before we.
Yeah. So it's on my website, millsknowsbills.com. And I think it's on the services tab. So if you click on that tab, it should reroute you to my courses landing page.
Yeah. Because wherever anybody's at in their, in their lives, whether they're entrepreneur or work for somebody or whatever, money's relevant, right?
Yeah.
And the scarcity of money is even more relevant. So learning how to keep more is definitely going to benefit everybody. So, definitely check it out. And I love that you said it's from 12 to
however old you want to go to.
Yeah. So especially, since we don't get this taught a lot in our schools, like it should be anyway, it's a good resource. So we'll be sure to definitely share that. Let's, so from a business standpoint, a new client comes to you, right? Are they coming to you saying, I need help with managing my money, or more from a fractional CFO standpoint, and then that's how you help them, on down the line, either for the business to keep more money, them personally to keep more money, or manage their money, so to speak.
So as a company, we've branched away from the coaching side, specifically because the fractional CFO side is where, frankly, I get most joy out of. And I feel like I also have the most impact, because if the business itself is doing well financially, then that result is able to trickle down to the business owner's personal finances, as well as any other team member that they may have. So where we focus our efforts on the personal finance side now is through the coaching courses, which is not really the one-on-one conversations. It's more of the coursework itself. But most of the time when somebody comes to us, it's, hey, I'm making money in my business. I don't know what I don't know. A lot of our clients are blue collar business owners. And so they'll say, I humbly ask for your guidance moving forward, right? So we'll sit down with them, we'll come up with a game plan that works for them on the business side. And then if they have questions on the personal side, that's where the course comes into play.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Being in similar industries, we do a lot of work, the same type.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we see individuals coming to us that now they have a pain. Maybe that's a broke pain, like we're running out of money, or we've already run out of money. What next? We kind of foresee that we might be out of money. We don't know what we're going to be owing in taxes. We owe a ton of taxes that we didn't know, and we maybe didn't file for a couple of years.
Yeah.
There's a pain. There's some pain is motivating the business to come speak to us. Are you finding that? Or are you finding people more and more apt to say, I need this, versus?
We do have the pain points every now and then, but most of the pain point is, I've been in business for X amount of years and I feel like nothing has changed. No matter how much money I'm making, I still feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck in my business.
Yeah.
Or I want to scale and grow, but nothing's working. It's more of it really boils down to them feeling like they're on this hamster wheel of always doing something, but they never feel like they're actually moving forward. And it's at the point where they've realized that the money side is more than it's more than they can handle, given either the size of their revenue or the size of their team. And they don't have capacity for it anymore. So they offload it to us so that way we can get them off that hamster wheel and help them come up with that game plan to actually move forward. I will say a commonality, regardless if there's a pain point or not a pain point when somebody comes to us, is 90% of our clients have the goal of selling their business within the next 5 to 10 years. And so if they want to sell their business, they need to structure their business in such a way, both operationally and financially, to get there, but they don't know what those steps look like.
No, that's fantastic. No, we see a lot of the pain, because we're in the tax business as well, right?
You're going to see more of it too. Yeah.
We see a lot of that. And so that starts the conversation, and it identifies a whole bunch of challenges. And then others are being more proactive, saying, yes, I've got a business that I want to scale. I don't know how to do this. And it's like, okay, just like anything else, just like your contractor built your house, or, the gentleman down the street built the go-kart, or whatever it is, you start with the first steps, the building blocks, right? Figure out where you're at and what you've got, what tools you need to put in place, and slowly do it. I have this, when I talk to a lot of people, especially business owners that are really visionaries in a lot of senses, or they really know what they're good at and they don't focus any attention on what they're not so good at, maybe don't employ somebody to do it, is they're out here in this world of their business, and there's all these particles that need to be controlled, but they're trying to control all these particles, and they're just floating around. And it's like, you ever seen that money that flows in that cart where they're trying to
and they're trying to catch it all.
You can't catch all the money unless you slow down, and you're like the guy that just holds out his shirt, and he's got a plan, and and he just lets it fall in.
Yeah.
It falls in, covers it a little bit more, right? You have to start somewhere, and that's determine where you're at, and then developing the systems and processes to give you what to shrink those particles that are floating around. So, no, I'm glad that businesses are coming to you for that, but I'm really excited about the money side of it too, because once you get that right, having that, okay, now we've got you fixed and you're set over here. What? Let's keep more of that. Let's strategically plan for that. Do you have tax considerations and things like into your planning with them? Do you work with other resources? Is that something that you're also doing from a tax planning perspective or anything?
We do not do any tax planning. We do offer bookkeeping as a vertical in our company, really because it was such an issue. So looking at our portfolio, about 65% of our clients had bookkeeping outsourced, but the companies that they had outsourced it with were providing untimely books. I mean, I just last week got somebody's July's books. That's really, really late. And so it makes it harder for myself and that business owner to plan moving forward. And on top of that, the books are not really detailed in terms of categorizations. We found that a lot of the books were being done strictly from a tax perspective, not really from a strategy perspective. And so as a business owner, it wasn't giving them enough of a story to see where they're either hemorrhaging cash, what is giving them a really great profit margin. And so as a result, they still feel like they have to do everything. But if they just maybe tweaked a couple things, maybe they could be a lot more profitable. And so we added bookkeeping as a vertical just to bridge that gap. But we don't do any of the tax planning. We work with our business owners, CPAs, and have conversations with them throughout the year to make sure that the books still reflect tax-ready books, as well as ensuring that they are making enough of their payments on a quarterly, monthly basis. And then if we need to set aside additional money into separate accounts, we have that conversation with the business owner too.
No, that's awesome. You mentioned it, the tax books and the planning books.
Strategy, yeah.
You can get them close as possible. And we've noticed that too, exactly what you said. It blows my mind. And I'll give you a little bit of our history. I own several retail tax franchises through the Liberty Tax franchise system. That's a business I am in, but I've kind of stepped out of the day-to-day operations of it, and focused on the small business. That's our Kinsler Brown Real CFO side. And it amazes me now that I'm seeing more and more tax returns and books and talking and getting new clients from local CPA firms or CPA firms that maybe are regional, and the data that they're getting and how their financial statements are structured. It's literally like they're saying, hey, we have zero out here. Let's contract and charge you $400, $500 a month. Let's hook up your bank account, set some rules up, and let it go.
Yeah.
And they never tell them how to log in, never access their financial information. They don't. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like,
yes,
these books are garbage. He goes, I've never seen them. And I'm like,
yes.
For real? And this is the big name CPA firm in town. So
if
you're with the big name CPA firm, I get it. It sounds really, really good. But a lot of times what you're going to get is the reactive approach, because everybody thinks big name is where I need to go. And big name isn't necessarily there. There's great ones. Don't get me wrong, but they serve.
It's not for everybody.
It's not. And this he's not a large business. He owns an insurance agency, right? But he was spending $300, $400, $500 a month, but he wasn't getting anything. He never saw the financials. He never saw his 941s. He never saw it. Was all hidden. And it's just crazy.
I don't like that.
Right.
Like, why is there not enough transparency?
Yeah. Well, because it's easy. Especially now with everybody can become a bookkeeper, everybody can become a fractional CFO. That's what I want to dig into now, because I think we're on the same page, right?
We are.
What we do, But a lot of folks, and I don't blame entrepreneurs for building courses, selling courses, and creating bookkeepers, right? But
Mhm.
not everybody that's a bookkeeper is a CFO. Uh, in fact, the majority aren't. Because
Mhm.
there's a difference between tax books. There's a difference between setting up rules and booking things and reconciling bank accounts. That's important. In money mindset, money management, reconciling your accounts is very, very important because you know everything
Definitely.
that came in, everything that went out is in a place. Now,
Yes.
that next level is the strategy. That's where the fractional CFO comes in. And this is what a fractional CFO is kind of in our world. And I'll let Mill
Mhm.
speak to what
Sure.
she by that. But from what I'm saying, it's strategy, utilizing the
Mhm.
numbers to tell the story. So you know inherently what's going on in your
Mhm.
business, in your revenue streams, in your operations,
Yeah.
everything from a financial standpoint, then you can make decisions and we can help make those decisions based on what we know, not guessing and emotion, right? That's how I see it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you use two of the key words that I use as well, strategy and story. Another one that I like to use is proactive, and I'm sure you do this as well. I do a 13-week cash flow projection for every single client, so we know where their cash flow will be, where there's any hiccups in the road, anything that we need to do to overcome those hiccups, but it also lets our clients know when they can make hiring decisions, investments into different software to let them get to that next step. So it's not just looking at the data, which is why it's important not just to have the reactive piece of only having bookkeeping done, but it's also the proactive side of looking at what that data means and making sure it's being delivered to you in a timely manner so you can make those decisions in an accurate time frame. Otherwise, it's
yeah.
just cataloging numbers for the sake of cataloging them.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I always tell people, I said, you know, right now what you've got is you're paying somebody to do compliance work, right? That's
Mhm.
fine. That is a cost to the business. That is an OPEX expense. If you
Mhm.
want to bring in somebody that maybe we do the bookkeeping and that's an OPEX expense, but everything that comes with the package and value that we deliver, that's an investment.
Yeah.
You should expect a return. And I'll be the first to tell you, if we're not returning on that investment, you should fire us.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
we're not returning something, that means we're not engaged how we want to be. Because I don't
Yeah.
have any interest, right, in just getting hundreds of bookkeeping clients that are paying me whatever. We can get them, but I want to be able to serve to a greater purpose and help
Yeah.
build that business or be part of that. And you know, one of our problems in the industry that I've run across, and I people can probably tell I'm a lot older than you. Probably been in it for a little bit, but we get a bad stereotype, right? Because we're that cost, right? We're a cost. They don't look at us as advisors, and that's something that you know needs to change. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
if you look statistically, those in our industry are getting out, especially on the CPA side. Right? I
Yes.
think I read over the next 10 years, 70% of the current CPAs are set to retire.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's
It's a
insane.
lot.
But I've lived through that old school traditional model where everybody comes to the CPA, does their taxes, it's reactive. They might expect certain things, and been that CPA that thought he was the smartest person in the room and knew everything about business until he actually went out into business and did it himself. I'm like, I don't know. So that's who I want to be, and I want to serve clients that want to look to
Yeah.
grow. Sounds like you're on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah, we try to find within 90 days a way to more than cover the cost of our entire annual engagement with somebody, which if
How do you
you
how do you do that?
I mean, it depends on the industry, but there are some key things that we look at. You probably won't be surprised by this, but I think maybe the listeners would be. The amount of overdue accounts receivables I see with my clients, it's ridiculous. On average, I would say 33, 34%
Yeah,
of their receivables are overdue, well beyond
yeah.
90 days.
Right. Yeah, I that brings up a story. I had a client, still a client, but everything was old school. Everything was, work order gets done for the day, bring it in, it gets put into the system, we send the invoice, net 30. Right?
Mm-hmm.
45 days, 60 days, somebody's calling, hey, pay the bill. I said, why don't you use credit cards and bill electronically?
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, the credit card fees. I said, okay, well, you're
Pass
60,
it on.
you got 25, 30% of your receivables are more than 30,
Mm-hmm.
15, 20% or 60. Uh, credit card fees aren't that much. Plus, they're not going to notice that price. So don't put a barrier in front of your client to pay. Make it as easy as that. So
Yeah.
if you're like me anymore, if I get an electronic invoice, I will hit it typically and pay it on my phone just so I don't forget about it.
Yeah.
Right then and
Yeah.
there. And it's amazing the turnover. So now you got cash flow more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's an easy fix. That they were stressing and always chasing.
Yes. Yeah. It's an easy fix to, first of all, look at the receivables, but also payment processing fees for clients that do have those already. Is there an opportunity to change merchant services? Is there an opportunity to pass those fees on? As you grow and you get larger, you're going to have higher and higher dollar amounts. And it's what I like to do is kind of translate those dollar amounts into the physical impact that the business owner sees. For example, I was looking at one person's P&L and I said, listen, you do realize that by the end of this year, you're going to be paying $60,000 a month in processing fees, right? They're like, yeah, but it's a cost of business. I'm like, yeah, but that's also
A lot of money.
12 full-time salaries a year that you could have to continue to grow and scale your business. 12 full-time salaries stateside. I think you should work on maybe changing over to a different processing system. And so that right there was a very easy way to save money, But yeah, accounts receivables, processing fees. And then the other thing I find, which you might see as well, is a lot of the business owners are spending their time in an area that's not actually making them the most / making them the most profit.
Right.
So if you're able to show them, if you just add a little bit of ad spend over here rather than over here, you'll get higher return.
Yeah.
Work less, make more. It gives them that
Yeah.
extra dollar there.
And unless you're tracking it, and it doesn't have to be some super complex system, right?
Not
It
at
could
all.
be, hey, I've got this job. It's in this line of revenue. I've got this type of job. It's in this line. And I create a folder for each job and I throw all the expenses and everything into that bucket. And then I look at that bucket and see where I'm making money. And I look at this bucket and see where I'm making money. If I'm making more over here, I need to do more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or add
Mm-hmm.
efficiencies over here. It's not complex. We can build it into the accounting system and structure so it's easily tracked and accessible. But I've told people that don't necessarily have the budget to bring us in and do that. It's simple. Get a folder, put the client name on it, service line, and put every cost that's associated with that job in there. Same thing over here, and you'll be amazed. Start reviewing it and learn where you're making money, where you need to add efficiencies, so on and so forth. No, that's amazing. So from a keeping more of that money and plan ahead, I agree with you. Expenses, there's a lot of stuff buried in there, right? And having it organized really paints a true picture. I often have conversations with new clients because I'll review their books, or my team will. And it's like, how do you use your boat to build a house? Right? So they've got boat expenses in their P&L, like, for real?
Yeah.
That boat's not building that house. Like, that's your line. So I get there's corners and stuff that can be, from a tax perspective, everybody wants to net zero.
Write everything off.
And it drives me freaking insane. I said, okay, there's some gray area on some things, right? I get
Yeah.
that. We'll play that game and be somewhat
Yes.
aggressive, but I'm not getting far from that middle line because I want
Mm.
to protect you. But most small businesses do it, unless you can tell them not to. How important, or educating them on how important it is to, even if you're putting it through the business, that it is classified in the right way so you can tell 100% where your business is going, how it's functioning, and know that story. Because if you take all this personal stuff that you want to deduct and whatever may be in the normal OpEx expenses of your business, you're not getting a true blueprint of where you're at. And the story's off. It's the wrong story, right?
Yeah. And it's not only is it the wrong story, but you're not doing yourself a favor either on the personal side or the business side. And there's two ways to look at this. If you are writing off absolutely everything on your business and you're taking home very little pay, it becomes more difficult for you to do anything really on the personal side unless you're buying it in cash. If you want to buy a house, you're not going to qualify for as great of a mortgage as you feel like you should qualify for. You cannot have your cake and eat it too in that capacity. On the business side, and this is something that I talk about with my clients often, because so many of them want to get to the point of eventually selling their business.
Sure.
If you continue to use your business as your personal bank account, it is not going to give you as high of a valuation when you want to sell it eventually.
Right.
You do need to have some degree of separation between your personal finances and your business finances. I'm all for mitigating your tax liability, but there are other strategies out there that you can leverage besides just writing it off on your business. You can invest in real estate. You can invest in an alternative investment program. Like, there are so many options out there, and I'm not a tax expert, but I know enough to be dangerous and when to put my clients in front of the right experts to help them take advantage of those opportunities. But it's not just writing it off on your business,
Right.
you know?
No, that's a killer. I mean, it really is. We just recently worked with somebody, and I'm like, listen, dude, here's what it is. Well, I can't be that, man. I hardly make any money for the company. And I said, well, yeah, the way you record stuff, yeah, you're not making any money, right? But the way my mind looks at it when I'm reading through your general ledger, or my team's looking at it and saying, what's this, what's that, what's that, what's that? I'm telling you, that's not a business deduction. You feel like it is. You're spending it out of your account.
Yeah.
Your net cash flow might be $30,000, $40,000 a year. That might be the net cash flow from the business, right? But your net income's 150.
Yep.
Right? You took 120 out of the business. That's business money to pay for your personal stuff. We can't do that. So, from a tax planning standpoint, because we do that, I always tell people, first and foremost, one, there's not a magic pill.
No.
Right? Knowledge is, you have to have knowledge in order to do tax planning. And tax planning really consists of, what am I going to owe? And knowing that, or am I going to owe and knowing that?
Yep.
And if I am going to owe, how can I minimize it? Two sides, knowing what I'm going to owe and how to minimize it. Because doing a lot of these fancy, crazy strategies to minimize might be tying money up for a long term over here that is not really a good investment for you to be in. And you can lose it, so you have to balance that and see, where are we at? I'm all about minimizing taxes, just not for the sake of minimizing it without returning something over on this side, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I would also maybe add a third piece to that too, not just knowing and also how to minimize, but having the money set aside in case you owe. A lot of business owners I speak with, they're like, well, I'm just going to keep spending that money. But it's not your money. It's technically not your money. It's technically the government's money that you've just not handed over yet. So let's set it aside maybe get a yield on it if we can, but it's not yours. So please don't spend it.
One of the biggest things that I think a business owner can do is set up, especially now. I mean, there's safe index funds and money markets that are paying high interest. With the rate cut yesterday, I don't know that that's going to be the case anymore. There's some better than others, right? But taking it out of the normal OpEx and just sticking it somewhere that's hard, you have to actually call somebody to get the money. And, you have to go through steps. You can't just wire it or transfer it or do it. That's one of the easiest things. Take a chunk and put over here. That way you got that rainy day fund, right? So part of knowing what you're going to owe is making sure you got the money to pay it, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
If you know along the way that you're going to owe it, you'll be more apt to keep that money in that bucket over there that's hard to get to, as you stated. But yeah, we've had those situations too. Right? I owe that much. I don't have that much money. Well, what'd you do with it? You bought a boat. You bought a boat. That's what you did with it.
I invested it back in the business. No, you didn't. That's not an investment.
So that said, from a tax planning standpoint, there's a lot of simple things that you can do, and it's worth a conversation with a good advisor. But just like anybody that's out there saying they're a CFO and they're a bookkeeper or they're a tax advisor and they just bought a course, that's not always the best route. Be certain in what you're doing. If you hear of something that seems, one, too good to be true, and two, overly complex, they both probably are, right? Because I've seen a lot of people, it's too good to be true type situations, and then they lose their butt and they don't get any advice, any guidance, any return on that investment. But then I've seen people enter into more complex situations than what their situation calls for, like multiple trust, all this stuff that just, dude, you're not there yet, right?
Yes.
I know multi-million, 8-figure business owner, 9-figure, that don't have the complexity that your $200,000 business and with your personal have. So there's a lot of overselling, I think, out there.
Yeah, and I was talking with it's actually funny you brought that up, because somebody who came on my podcast last season was saying, "Oh, I got the advice that I should have a whole different LLC for my book." Well, what are you planning on using your book for? Lead gen. For what business? This one. Okay. Why are we overcomplicating it? And like you said, it's not multi-figures as a business. Let's work. Let's just streamline things for now. Let's make money first.
Now, I could see money. If you're writing a book and you're somebody like an Andy Frisella or somebody like that has a lot of assets in this business and doesn't want to have a direct, and you're going to be calling people out and cussing and doing some things that, might interest people in suing you. But if you're you got a small business, you're writing a book that is not calling out people's names and all this, and it's just sharing the story about you, there's really no risk or no, but again, what do you do after that book's published? I'm sorry? So what do you do at the next year? Now you have just a compliance thing for a book that you're not a best-selling author in terms of you're going to sell 1 million copies every year for the next 20 years. It ain't going to happen. What do you do with that? Now you got to, unwind it. Yeah, I hear it frustrates me, so I get a little.
I'm sure we can relate a lot on our mutual industry frustrations.
Yeah. Well, no, good stuff. What, I guess from a standpoint of educating the listener, business owners that may be in here that are kind of interested in what we're talking about, maybe getting started, just kind of on that fence in terms of, bookkeeping, CFO strategy, tax planning, all of that. How would you tell them what's the first thing they need to do to really commit to the process?
For me personally, or just industry general?
Well, just for individuals out there that are saying, okay, this is something I know I've been putting off. I'm always reactive in getting my taxes done. I don't get a monthly financial statement. I really have no guidance in my business. after this call, what happens is, those people that are interested,
Mhm.
in 20 minutes, they're going to forget half the conversation. In 24 hours, they're going to forget most of the conversation, and then they're not going to ever do anything. So right now, if somebody is interested in making a change or making a move or getting their hands wrapped around it, what's something that they can set in their mind, that money mindset, to say
Mhm.
they will move forward, be proactive in doing something? Is it simple as just writing it down,
Yeah.
scheduling a call with an advisor, somebody, you, me, whoever it might be?
I think, you and I were talking about this earlier. There's more than enough business out there
Sure.
for anybody. So it's not even a scheduling a call with me type scenario. I think the clients that have the most success with me are the ones who really understand our role as their CFO versus their role as the CEO. And so, what I always talk about when I'm interviewing a client, because it is by interview/application that they join our team, I want to make sure that they fully understand their role as the CEO and how they leverage the story and the data that we, as their CFO, provide and what our role is. Because it's not our role to hire or fire people. It's our role to let you know when you can financially afford to do so,
Yeah.
right? And so if there's somebody who is, number one, unwilling to relinquish the financial control, even if it's just enough for us to do what we need to do, they're not ready to hire a CFO.
Yeah.
Because when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, nothing gets done, right?
Right.
And then also, if they are unwilling to sit down for the meetings, review the reports, unwilling to make any changes, right? Then they're not willing for a CFO. They're not ready for a CFO because they are unwilling to make any changes, right? So the first step, in my opinion, especially from a mindset perspective, is, do you understand your role as the CEO, and are you willing to fully step into that role? Because right now you're not the CEO. If you have too many hats on, you're owning a job, not a business.
Right.
So that'd be my suggestion.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Is there a range, like from a dollar standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a range, a typical range that you see somebody that is a qualified fit for CFO services? Is it a revenue range? Is it a employee range? I'm sure it's dependent on industry. Um,
It is dependent upon industry, because different industries will have different costs of goods sold and whatnot. So what I'll say is, we work with business owners that make starting at $250,000 a year in revenue, but that 250, anything less than $1 million in our portfolio tends to be what I would consider white collar businesses.
right.
So
Service.
they have a higher profit margin, content creators, services, coaches,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And then anybody who is typically blue collar is making well over $1 million, upwards of 10 million a year. So really, it just depends on when somebody is ready to relinquish that financial control, so that way they can keep moving forward, because we have 3 different packages, right? So it just depends on how much control they want to give up and what their revenue is. But 250 is kind of our starting point.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, hey, we're about out of time. So just to wrap it
Yeah.
up, I want to thank you for coming on. It was a great conversation. And, there's always, because we're on the same page when it comes to this stuff as accountant talks.
Mm-hmm.
Accountant geeks get into the same rooms or on the same podcast. It generally turns out good. So I appreciate the information that you shared, the time
Thank you.
that you spent with us. Where can people find you to follow? I know you put out good content. Sounds like
Thank
your
you.
website's got good stuff on it. Where can people find you?
So if somebody is wanting to just get to know the company a little bit better, Instagram at Mills Knows Bills would be the best place to get started. If someone's ready to schedule a call, you can go directly to our website, millsknowsbills.com. The schedule call link in the footer will get you in contact with somebody on my team.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks again, Mills. Appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you for having me. I appreciate it.